There's a food on this planet that does something no supplement, no powder in a fancy jar can even come close to matching. And most people have never thought about it this way. This food doesn't just deliver calories. It teaches your immune system how to function. It trains your gut microbiome from scratch. And the part that should actually stop you? It adapts and changes depending on what's happening in your environment, in real time. Nothing else we eat does that. Nothing. It contains living immune cells and hormones that shift from morning to night. It even contains stem cells, which is an entirely different level of biological engineering. So what is the #1 healthiest food on planet Earth? Human breast milk. Now before you click away, stay with me. Because understanding what breast milk actually does is the foundation for what comes next. And what comes next is the closest thing an adult can consume to get some of those same benefits. This absolutely applies to your health right now. But first, you need to understand why breast milk is in a category of its own. Because when you actually look at the science behind it, what this substance does to a developing human body is extraordinary. Breast milk is a super immune builder. Half of the mother's immune system, the innate immune system, is transferred to that infant partially through breast milk. Half of a fully developed immune system, handed directly to a newborn, through feeding. Think about that. You have two branches of immunity. The innate immune system, which you're born with, which your mother gives you. And then the acquired immune system, which you develop over time by getting sick, fighting off infections, and letting your body learn from those encounters. Those two systems working together are what keep you alive. People who were breastfed as infants carry a measurably stronger immune system into adulthood. Lower rates of autoimmune diseases, fewer allergies, better gut integrity, stronger resistance to infections throughout life. The data on this is overwhelming, and it all traces back to what happened in those first months of life. If you've been dealing with gut issues or allergies for as long as you can remember, comment below whether you were breastfed or formula-fed. I genuinely want to see the pattern. Breast milk contains specific proteins that heal the gut wall. It contains sugars called human milk oligosaccharides that the baby cannot even digest. These sugars aren't there for the baby at all. They selectively feed beneficial microbes in the infant's gut. And those microbes are highly protective against inflammation. This is targeted, precision nutrition that modern science still can't fully replicate. Then there's colostrum. Think of colostrum as a newborn starter kit. It's the first substance produced before mature breast milk comes in, and it's loaded with immune factors. Colostrum protects the immune system in a way few other substances can. And here's something worth knowing. Even if you're a full-grown adult, supplementing with colostrum can strengthen your gut barrier and protect against leaky gut. It's that powerful. Now let's talk about what most babies get instead. Infant formula. And let's be honest about what this stuff actually is. Infant formula is the first ultra-processed food a child is ever exposed to. It is, functionally, junk food for newborns. Yes, formula can keep a child alive. But from a health-building standpoint, it does almost nothing to develop that child's immune system, gut microbiome, or long-term resilience. Look up the dictionary definition of food. That which is eaten to sustain life, provide growth and repair of tissues. Formula barely fits that definition. Infant formula is a delivery system designed to hit certain numbers, calories, proteins, vitamins, minerals, all synthetic. It does not account for the quality of those calories, those proteins, those nutrients. It hits the numbers on paper and calls it a day. And it gets worse. Recently, researchers have been looking closely at heavy metals in infant formulas. Some of the ingredients used in formula act like sponges for heavy metals, which is terrible for a newborn, especially for brain development. Consumer Reports tested 41 different infant formulas and found heavy metals in a significant number of them, with levels varying wildly between brands. Formula is a chemistry project, not a food. It typically contains industrial seed oils, refined sugars, synthetic vitamins, and processed protein, sometimes soy protein. And all of this gets labeled through a regulatory loophole as complete nutrition. That label is doing a lot of heavy lifting. So we've established that breast milk is in a league of its own. and infant formula is a poor substitute at best. Now the real question, as an adult, what can you consume that comes closest to giving you some of those same benefits? Would it be milk? No. And here's why. Most milk you can buy is pasteurized. You have to go significantly out of your way to find raw milk in most places. And despite what the dairy industry tells you about pasteurization being necessary, here's the reality. When they pasteurize milk, they kill everything in it. The enzymes, the immune factors, the beneficial bacteria, all destroyed. The fat membranes get altered. What you're left with is a dead liquid that shares almost nothing in common with what came out of the animal. So what's the next best thing? Fermented dairy. And this is where it gets interesting. Kefir, raw milk cheese, yogurt. These are the foods that come closest to giving adults some of the immune and gut benefits that breast milk provides to infants. Here's why. When you ferment dairy, when you introduce bacteria and let them do their work, they create an entirely new set of compounds that weren't there before. The fermentation process breaks the protein in dairy down into smaller peptides that are extremely easy to digest. People who struggle with regular milk often handle fermented dairy just fine. There are compounds in fermented dairy that help your immune system stop overreacting. That matters for anyone dealing with inflammation, allergies, or autoimmune tendencies. Fermentation also increases something called Treg cells. These are regulatory immune cells that prevent your immune system from attacking your own tissues. This is the same kind of immune modulation that breast milk provides to infants. Fermented dairy contains vitamins that are created by the microbes themselves. Vitamin K2 is a perfect example. The bacteria produce K2 as a byproduct of fermentation. And K2 does something most people don't realize. It pulls calcium out of your soft tissues, out of your joints, out of your arteries, and redirects it into your bones and teeth, where it actually belongs. You cannot get this benefit from regular pasteurized milk. Think about what's happening here. These microbes are tiny factories. You give them lactose to eat, and in exchange, they produce vitamins, enzymes, and protective compounds for you. It's a biological trade that humans have been making for thousands of years. And speaking of lactose, most adults can't digest it properly. We lose the enzyme for it as we age. But when you ferment dairy, the microbes consume most of the lactose for you. So the lactose content drops significantly. This is why many people who are lactose intolerant can handle kefir or aged cheese with no problems. The minerals in fermented dairy are also far more bioavailable than in regular milk. Calcium, magnesium, zinc. These minerals get conditioned by the fermentation process, so your body can actually absorb them efficiently. You're not just consuming minerals, you're consuming minerals in a form your body can use. And then there's the probiotic benefit. The living bacteria in fermented dairy don't just pass through your system. They reseed your gut. They change the environment in your intestines so that beneficial microbes that were dormant can wake back up and start working again. Fermentation also generates B vitamins, B2, B12, folate, biotin, compounds that support energy, brain function, and cellular repair. This is why almost every ancient culture on Earth had some form of fermented dairy. Every single one. For thousands of years, humans instinctively understood that fermented milk products were a cornerstone of health. We're only now catching up to why with modern science. If you're in Europe, you have a real advantage here. Nearly all cheese sold in Europe is made from raw milk. In other parts of the world, you have to hunt for it. But it's worth the effort. Raw milk cheese, kefir, and quality yogurt consumed daily will do more for your gut and immune system than most supplements on the market. Here's the bottom line. Fermented dairy is the closest thing adults have to breast milk. It modulates your immune system and feeds your microbiome. It creates vitamins and protective compounds that weren't in the original milk. And it makes nutrients more absorbable. If you want to support your microbiome, start with fermented dairy. Feed those microbes well, and your body will run better for it.